Hey guys, just getting back from a trip from Nashville, or trip to Nashville for the new year. Went down. It's a 600-mile trip, 1,200-mile trip round trip. Just wanted to kind of summarize up some of my thoughts about the trip going down there, the experience with an EV versus a gas. I've done it a bunch of times, driven down there in gas vehicles, mostly F-150 EcoBoost. You know, I've been down there a bunch of times with that. But this is the first time doing any sort of a road trip in my new F-150 Lightning. Just kind of wanted to give you my thoughts on the trip, some of the stats on it, or some of the costs on it, going down there. So then afterwards, I got a short video on the trip. I kind of go into more detail of some of the issues I ran into along the way, the good, bad, and the ugly. So stay tuned and watch that video afterwards. But just go over some of the different I guess stats. I keep saying stats, but let's go over it. So the cost. So cost to charge down there. On the way down there, it was about $87 down, $94 back, about $181 round trip. So comparable to gas, 19 miles per gallon, $3.50 per gallon. You're looking at about $221, so it's about $40 cheaper. You know, and I don't have any of the memberships. You can get actually, I think it's like 10 or 15 cents cheaper if you get a membership with Electrify America or some of the other places. I haven't done it because I'm not going to use them often, other just for because you have a monthly fee and things like that, and it just isn't worth it for me. So it would be even cheaper if you did that. So you might even save like $50 or something on a 1,200-mile trip. But what you do lose is time. So, and it wasn't as substantial as I thought. So on the way down, the trip down, I left in the middle of the night. Terrible idea. So I've done it a couple times, but I think as I'm getting older, I can't do it like I used to. So we left at like 6 o'clock and got back in at like 6 or 7 o'clock. You'll see in the video, Nashville time. So you actually gained an hour. So it's actually, you know, it was a 13-hour and 12-minute trip. I think a big part of that wasn't just charging, but I was just so tired that I would sit there and charge. We'd feed the baby, and I'd fall asleep and charge for an hour. We'd overcharge. So we didn't have to charge that much to get to the next charging station, but I'd end up charging. I think one time I even charged 100%, which is very difficult if you know EVs. It takes a lot of time to charge to 100%. So from 80% to 100, it's like you're getting like no charge at all, like 20 kilowatt per hour speeds. So on the way back, we left in the morning. You know, I was well rested, just kind of charged how I needed to get to the next stop, and it took us 10 hours and 38 minutes. If you look up that trip on Google Maps, it's like a 8.5-hour trip. If you just go straight, don't stop, whatever. So I mean, doing it in 10 hours and 38 minutes with charging, I don't think that's bad at all. You know, on the way down, looking at 13 hours, I was like, holy crap, this is terrible. But after coming back, I really don't think it's that bad. Some of the thoughts about my experiences. So charge stations, just the availability. You know, we're early on, outside of Tesla and their supercharging network. All the other ones are struggling. So biggest issue is, you know, where they're at. You know, it's just the reviews, the accuracy of the outages are all over the place. So you'll look up on some of the apps, and it'll say, you know, 3 are down, 4 are down, they're all down, or they're all good. You get there and 1's up, and you know, you're waiting in line. Luckily, I did not have any experiences with not having a charger available when I needed it. So, you know, I can't say it was a bad experience, but you definitely have range anxiety because you're looking at these reviews and you're worried about not being able to charge. I got a baby in the car. Luckily, the temperatures weren't bad, but still, you're worried about having to struggle to get to the next place. The good thing about it is, usually, if you know, I'm just looking at fast chargers, something that's getting over 100 kilowatts charge speeds. And if you look it up and start, going to the slower ones, there's a lot of places around that do have them. There's gas stations, there's Dunkin' Donuts. They usually have something that's like a 50 kilowatt. So you could always find one. It's just going to take time. Luckily, I didn't run into an issue with this. I was on all fast chargers, and it went pretty well. The other thing is there's no amenities at these places. There's no trash can. I mean, there's trash cans. I mean, you're a Walmart parking lots and after hours. Walmarts are closing. They're not all 24/7. I ran in. I think most of them weren't 24/7. So we had no bathrooms. So you'd have to make 2 stops. So you'd have to stop at a gas station that's 24/7, a truck stop, and then you'd also have to go to a charge station. That was terrible, and I think that helped cause that 13-hour trip on the way down. On the way back, wasn't a big deal. Walked in the store, went to the bathroom, got drinks, got food, whatever. It was fine. But on the way there, it was absolutely terrible. And, even a porta-john would be nice to have outside of these things. Or, make a deal with somebody else, or I don't know. They got to think of something to get bathrooms and then food 24/7. So the other item is ease of use. Didn't really think about it until I went on this trip. Going around town, my wife could easily jump in the truck and go. I mean, it's plugged in, it's charged. She really doesn't have to charge anywhere, or I don't have to charge anywhere outside of home. But when you do go on a road trip, which my wife, she'll travel for work sometimes, and if she needed to, she'd prefer to take the F-150. The old F-150 was nice because it was gas. Now I got this new one, and then we also have our bigger truck that's not exactly efficient. So her jumping in that Lightning and just going down to Cincy to visit her offices for work, it could get difficult. I've looked into this stuff. I've researched it. I've been looking at this truck for 2 years since I reserved the thing, and I kind of know what I'm getting into. I know it's a little bit of a struggle. I know what apps to look at. I'm into technology. It's interesting to me. But to her, she wants ease of use. She wants to be able to jump in. You go to the gas station, you swipe your card, you fill it up, and keep going. Going to Electrify America, you got to try out three of the chargers. 3 of them don't work. The 4th one might work, but there's a line. Looking at the apps, you got to plan your trip. You got to look at the reviews. You got to look at how many up, how many are out of service, things like that. It's just not simple yet. I think it'll get there, but I don't know when. And that's a very concerning thing that I just didn't think about when you're getting this very expensive truck. That with me in it, it's great, but her on her own, not that she couldn't figure it out. She just doesn't have the patience, and she don't want to. I mean, when you're paying the money we pay for this truck, you shouldn't have to worry about that kind of thing. It should just be easy. You should just be able to go to the charge station, plug in. If that was the case, it'd be no problem. Even where they're at right now, if they're all spaced out the way they are, it would not be a big deal if it was reliable. Not a big deal at all. You wouldn't have to worry about it. I think there could always be more people are getting EVs, but right now I really don't think it'd be a big deal as long as they were all active, or at least say 75% of them were. So I mean, sometimes you'll have 1 or 2, you'll have 50% of them working. Luckily on the way down, everybody was closed and nobody was charging. And on the way back, it was kind of the day after the holidays, and I don't think, for some reason, it didn't seem like there was a lot of people traveling, but normally you would think so. But positive, the truck. I mean, that truck is absolutely awesome. With the struggles we're having, or with the charging and thing, and road trips, and my wife handling it, and the possibility of even just making the money back that I bought it for, it's up in the air. Do I trade this thing in, or sell it and either break even or make money on it? But personally, if the truck was the same price as a normal truck, or 50, 60K, I would definitely keep it. I mean, this truck is absolutely awesome. It's like riding a roller coaster. You hit the gas and that thing goes. And I'm new to EVs. I've never jumped in a Tesla or anything like that. I'm sure they're faster and whatever. But this thing, in comparison to a gas vehicle, it is unreal. Like, I jumped in my diesel truck. It was at the shop getting fixed for DEF issues. EPA stuff that's on those trucks, and this is the fourth time I think I mentioned this before. It's very irritating, but it felt like I was barely moving, you know. And I thought that thing was pretty quick for a diesel, but now it's terrible. And then I never thought the one pedal driving would be as good as it is, you know. I miss it every time I'm out of that truck and I'm driving my other truck. I miss the one pedal driving. You let off the gas and it stops you. You don't have to hit the brakes. It's I don't know, it's just easy. You know, at first I thought it was going to be awkward. Now it's like, it's great. You let off the gas, it stops you. You don't even have to hit your brakes. Not to mention, I probably won't have to do a brake job on this thing for 120,000 miles. So I mean, if I have this truck that long, I probably will never have to do the brakes. Like right now, you get a brand new truck, you probably go 60 on a regular truck. So this truck, you're never going to have to do the brakes as long as you have it. I mean, it's going to be 110, 120,000 miles, no problem. Other things, the storage. That front trunk, whatever you want to call it, is great. I mean, it is traveling with this thing with a tonneau cover on the bed. It is like going with a large SUV. I mean, you can load up the back, you load up the front with anything that could possibly get stolen, or you're worried about getting it stolen, and go. I mean, the storage is great. You don't have to have anything in the cab of the truck. It's great. I mean, like I said, the truck is like a roller coaster speed. And then technology. I mean, Blue Cruise. When you're cruising down the highway, heading on a long road trip, you put Blue Cruise on. And again, I've never driven a Tesla. I'm not going to compare it, but this is the first time I've had anything like hands-free driving. The Blue Cruise is awesome. I mean, you literally just put your hands down. You just do what you want. You eat lunch, or drink your coffee. You're just relaxing. I think it takes a little bit of stress off the drive. It doesn't change lanes or anything, but it slows with traffic and goes with traffic. Traffic can go to a complete stop. It can be stop and go traffic. You don't have to touch the pedal. You don't have to touch the steering wheel. And if things get a little shaky, like if it splits off, it goes off to another highway or something, it tells you to grab the wheel. You grab the wheel and you give it a little pressure, and it's good to go. Other than that, I mean, it's got eye sensors on it, so it's watching your eyes, which is crazy. You know, when you're driving for 13 hours, you end up testing it out. So my wife's watching the road, she's kind of making sure things aren't going right. I close my eyes, and you keep your eyes closed, and the thing will vibrate a little bit. It'll vibrate a little bit more. And then if you continue to close your eyes, it starts hitting the brakes and starts jerking you. So I mean, if you fell asleep at the wheel or something, it would wake you up to safely, or stop the car. I don't know if it eventually stops. I didn't want to stop traffic behind me, but it definitely jerked the brakes to where it shook my head, and it would wake you up. So technology in it is great. I know a lot of people that I've seen on reviews are bashing the GPS. Again, Tesla's got the best GPS, but the GPS and planning your routes for charging is a little bit, it also relieves a little bit of stress. I mean, it tells you where to charge, and then you can pick other charging stations. It doesn't always pick out the best ones. Like I said, I think it took me, like one time, it took me about 5 miles outside of my route, and then 5 miles back, which on the way back, I didn't go to that one. But now I know to check it a little bit. But it does. If you want to be mindless, you throw in your trip, it tells you how many times you got to go in, it tells you which chargers to go with. Yes, it might take you outside your trip, but it's going to get you to chargers, and you don't even have to think about it. So I think it'll get better with updates, and with time. I think all of that stuff's going to get updated. Overall, I'm very happy with the truck. I think the biggest concern is the ease of use for others. Outside of that, I mean, this truck it's everything everyone has been saying it is. I did have an issue with the tire sensors, or the tire pressure monitor system. So all of a sudden it just, said there's an error, and 3 of my tires had it didn't say 0, but it just wasn't detecting the tire pressure. It went on and off on my trip. Right now it's off, and I haven't seen it come back. I don't know if it's highway speeds for a long period of time, that's when it happens, or what, but it seems to have gone away for now. I guess I'll show the dealer. I don't even know if it'll show up on the history with the computer or not, but we'll see. Outside of that, I mean, in the video I kind of go over startup, what we're doing, and when I get there, kind of go over some of the some of the efficiencies on it. Down with efficiency, I got 1.9 miles per kilowatt. On the way back, we got 2.1. I mean, one thing I have learned is temperature has a huge impact on range, highway or just driving around or towing especially. But I mean, it was in the 50s, maybe 40s when I left, and then on the way back it was 60s, 70s. So I mean, I was 1.9 down, I was 2.1 back, and I think I was at 2.2 most of the time back, and it started cooling down as I got closer to Cleveland, and that's when it dropped to 2.1. So I mean, temperature has a huge impact on these batteries, especially extreme cold. If you watch my other trailer towing video, I was getting like 1.2 or 0.9 or something towing that thing, and I think a lot of that is with your temperature. And I think if it was warmer, you would improve. So, sorry for babbling on there for a little while, but this stuff is interesting to me. I hope it's interesting to you, or else you probably wouldn't be watching this video. Please enjoy the rest of it. Please subscribe, share, and like. Thank you. All right, all packed up. Getting ready for our trip to Nashville. Or Columbia, Tennessee, for the in-laws for New Year. I think we packed up everything but the kitchen sink. We got the luggage. We got some Christmas presents. We got a stroller for the baby. Some shoes, some tools just in case. We're gonna see how real mileage goes. It's closer to, it's like mid 40s, so it's gonna be a little bit of a change in comparison to last time. The baby and the dog back here for the trip. It's about a 9-hour trip if we didn't stop. We will see how long it is with charging too. So all right, I'll come back before we take off. We'll check the charge and what time it is, and we'll catch you back in a minute. But all right, we're about to start our trip down to Tennessee. It's just south of Nashville, or like 20 minutes south of Nashville, to see the in-laws. We are going to be hitting up 3 charge stations on the way, so we'll see how this goes. It's one at the Corvette Museum. I'm not too sure about. I might change that one, but right now our next stop's in Columbus, 182 miles. Then we got I think there's 2 in Kentucky, but the whole trip 615 miles. It is currently 5:46 p.m. when we're leaving. It's 51 degrees, so we should see a lot better efficiency on this trip than I have been, because since I've had it, it's been under 10 degrees. So just driving it today, it's been much better. I've been right around 1.8, 1.9, even 2.0, doing 70 down the highway. So right now it's showing 257 miles of range. We are at, go back, I want to see home screen, see our battery percentage. So we got an 83% battery percentage. That gives us about 108, 109 kilowatt hours on our battery. So not too bad to start. I wanted to get 100, but my other truck was broke. I had to drive this one to work today. So plugged it in as long as we can. 257 miles. Our first stop's 182. We should have plenty. We'll see how it goes. We'll be back. We're like 10 miles in, and I got a tire pressure monitor fault, and I don't know if you can see that, but none of the tires are showing a pressure except for the rear passenger side. That's a little annoying, but little tire thing's on, a little flat tire thing. So at least it's 3 of them, so it probably is just an electronic fault. but what a pain in the butt that is. So we'll see how it goes. Maybe after I turn it off or turn it back on or something, it'll reset, but we'll see. All right, we just got to our spot here in Columbia, Tennessee, and we average 1.9 miles per kilowatt, 13 hours and 12 minutes. That trip was killer. 607 miles. It is now 6:51 a.m. here, so I mean there's an hour difference, so yeah, it was a long trip. We'll get into some of the charging. Didn't really have any problems charging, just it was a lot of it. A lot of charging. I mean, it's probably a 10-hour trip if you don't even stop, and then, you know, it took us, you know, 13 hours, so 3 hours of stopping, which really isn't too bad, but definitely stopped. I took a couple naps because we drove through the night, but it's definitely an adjustment with the charging. The biggest issue I see is that you don't have, there's not like amenities at the charge place. There's no bathrooms, and when you're there at you know, 2-3 in the morning, you know, it's at a Mayors or a Walmart, and they're not open, so you have to make another stop and go to a, you know, truck stop or something like that. So that's one of the obstacles you got to overcome when you're on a long road trip like that. But overall, most of the trip I was 2.0, but towards the end there, went to 1.9, probably because of the hills in Kentucky. Made it drop. But comfy ride. The tire sensor's still a problem though. So if you go to the tire sensors, see it's saying everything's, oh, I got 2 working now, but there were just only 1 working. So that's a little frustrating with a brand new truck with you know, now 1,500 miles on it. We'll have to take it in and get that looked at, but overall, not a bad trip down here, and we'll be back on the way home, see how we do on the way home. Might try out a few different charge locations, because there were a couple of them that it took me to that were way, I mean, it was like 5-6 miles off the track, and I had to go back 5-6 miles, so it was a 10-mile round trip that I think I can avoid on the way back. So we'll be back. One of the big advantages of F-150 Lightning is all the storage. Got room for the baby in the back, along with the dog. Definitely you get a tonneau cover for road trips as of like this. Pack up all your stuff, and when you have babies, there's a lot more stuff. And your cab's not full of junk, luggage. You can also throw anything expensive or things you don't want stolen in the frunk. Even more storage there. I'd say it's comparable to a large SUV, if not more. So that's one good thing, one plus for sure, in comparison to a standard truck. Having that frunk makes a big difference, and I mean, any truck can have the tonneau cover. So about getting ready to leave Nashville and head back home. See how this trip goes. It's a little bit warmer. It's even, I think it's in mid-60s now down here. Here we're gonna be driving during the day, so we'll see what kind of mileage we get or efficiency we get on this thing on the way home. All right, we'll be back. Leaving from Nashville. It's 8:32 a.m. 59 degrees. First stop's in 100 miles or so at the National Corvette Museum to hit our first charge, so we should have plenty of range to get there. We'll see how busy it is. Hopefully it's not too busy. It wasn't when I went last time, but it was, you know, 5 in the morning. So we'll see. We'll be back at the Corvette Museum in Bowling Green, Kentucky. This is the second time I've been to this one. In the 350, charging at 140s on average. They got 2 charge stations up, which have the 4 outlets, and then 2 are down. But it's pretty consistent though. Feel pretty good about it. It's not too busy. Might check out the museum. But got the full load and the baby. Charging gives a good opportunity to feed the baby when he's crying for the trip, but still, we'll see how this ride home goes. I'm going a lot faster. I'm doing mid 70s, probably 72 to 75, and I'm still getting better efficiency. I'm doing like 2.2 miles per kilowatt, so we'll see how it ends up. I mean, it's in mid 60s today. All right, we'll be back. All right, well, we're in Nashville. Had the brother-in-law at Label Graphics do PPF on my truck. He did the doors, he did the whole front end, so he even did this thing, but you can't even really tell until you really look closely. Like if you look around the edges, you see where they wrapped it around to kind of make sure it doesn't ever peel off. Stuff's got a 10-year warranty and it's self-healing, so he put it all up on here. I think he put it on this grill, the whole front bumper he did it on, so stuff's supposed to do a real good job. Just trying to see if there's any spots where you can actually see the line. So yeah, you can see it. I hope you can see it in the camera, but it's a little cut line here. So he puts it all the way around, and it's on the whole front end, which is great. It'll make the paint last. You won't get chips and dings from salt trucks here in Northeast Ohio. Was my biggest concern. Was trying to make sure that I hold the value of this expensive truck as long as possible. So seems like he did a pretty good job. We'll see how it holds up. All right, got home at around 10 or 9:30. The trip back was much quicker. Definitely ran in, we charged a little too long on the way down there. We drove through the night. I think I took a couple naps that took a little longer than I needed to charge. So we actually got through the trip in 10 hours and 38 minutes. Versus I think it was like 13 hours on the way down there. We did have 0.1 better. We were more efficient on the way home. It was about 65 degrees versus I think it was like 50. Well, we'll see when we play back the video. But it was definitely warmer on the way back. I started to lose a little bit of efficiency. It was at 2.2 for most of the trip, and then dropped to 2.1 once I got home, or like within an hour of home. So I think the colder temps, it started dropping. It was like 48 degrees. Now it's 50 in my garage here. And I think it dropped efficiency. Plus, on the way home, I was going faster. I was doing probably 72 to 75 the entire time versus 65 to 70 on the way down. Went faster, warmer weather, seemed to have a pretty big impact. And then on timing, it was definitely charge time. So, I mean, pay attention to the times it tells you. It says, hey, charge for 20 minutes, charge for 20 minutes. It seems to give you an average of about 50 extra miles just for play, which I think you need. Every time you charge, it gives you 50 miles above and beyond what you need to get to the next charger. Biggest issue I ran into on this trip, either way, is just the charge stations. Half of them don't work. It makes your range anxiety go through the roof. You're reading reviews on PlugShare and stuff like that, and it's saying there's 4 of them down, or there's none working, and then you see a review saying, hey, I just charged there an hour ago. So it's kind of a crapshoot. I didn't get totally screwed on any of them. I always found a charger. Sometimes I think once or twice it might have been a 50 kilowatt charger, but I never got stranded without a charger. I only went to fast chargers the entire time. So, you know, there's a lot of them out there, like at Dunkin' Donuts or different gas stations. They'll have like probably chargers that do 50 kilowatts. A ton of dealerships have them. Down in Tennessee or Nashville area, Nissan's huge. That's where their headquarters is, and they have fast chargers at their offices that are open to the public. And I think want to say they're even free, so you can go on over there, or maybe it was a Nissan dealer that was free. But yeah, I mean, there's opportunities for chargers. It's definitely a game changer. It makes your trip a good amount longer. I mean, this one, I don't know. I'd probably say I do it in maybe 10 hours, maybe 9.5 hours in a gas vehicle versus an EV. I mean, 10.5 hours really isn't terrible. I do have a baby, so I mean, our stops are longer. We've usually, every time we'd stop, we'd be feeding the baby. I mean, he's only 3 months old, so we'd feed him and put him back to bed, and every couple hours he'd wake back up and want to feed again. So I mean, it kind of worked out with charging. You're basically doing almost like 100 mile trips is pretty much what I was doing. And then I had one stint that was like 150, but all the other stints were 100. The ride down was absolutely terrible. Drove through the night. Like I said, slept a little bit too much through the charging. Went into like the 80 to 100% charge once, and it took a ton of time. So I didn't really think about it when I first got there, but that definitely skewed our drive down. Overall, pretty good trip. Ran into a bunch of good people at the charge stations, which is kind of a cool thing. You just have, you got a good group of people, and everybody's kind of just, jumping into this thing, and everyone's got the same struggles. But man, people are just so, energetic and so passionate about their EVs. And, I'm new to it, and to be honest, I'm kind of still skeptical of the whole thing, with the amount of charging stations out there up in Ohio to Tennessee. I mean, they're around all the big cities. Like Cleveland's got a little bit of them. They don't have a lot. Columbus is a ton. Cincinnati seems to be a good amount. Nashville, there's a good amount. And from what I hear, south of Nashville is there's a bunch of charging stations. Just stay out of West Virginia, I guess. So there's no charging stations there. But overall, the trip went pretty well. It's something that my wife might not be able to pick up on, whether she can't or she just doesn't want to. It is much more difficult trying to figure out charge stations, especially when they're not working all the time. She might not get it. So if one don't work, she just, maybe it's a money thing, and she, when she goes up charge, it could be the card or it should be her account. It's just way more complicated than just running up a gas station, swiping your card, and pumping gas. Like now sometimes it could be your charge. The card doesn't work. You got to have an account with an app. Sometimes the app doesn't work. You got to use a card. Oh gosh. And then your range limits are all over the place. It could be, I get it. I do the math, the 25, and then I'm getting 2.1. I usually say I'm going to say I get 1.8. I'm pretty conservative with my guesses to make sure I'm going to have enough range. That's something that she just probably doesn't get and doesn't have the interest of learning it either. So I think that's another big part of this is I might get it. It might work for me. It's just not going to work for my wife. Especially when something costs, $80,000 plus, for it not to be intuitive on how to drive these things cross country or anywhere else. You got to really know a lot about the EVs and be interested in it and want to learn how to do this stuff. If you just think you can just jump in and go cross country, you're going to it's going to be a little bit
sketchy there for a little bit. You know, if you're not into it, if you want to learn shit, you'll sit at a charge station, you'll figure it out. Not a big deal. My wife, she wants to jump in. She don't care about new technology or anything like that. It needs to be easy, pick it up and go. You know, it's got to be like Apple. And that's probably what Tesla is. You know, Tesla, you can probably just go and charge up and very rarely have an issue. Right now, you got ChargePoint, you got Easy Go, you got Electrify America, and every one of them's got a different app. Every one of them's got a different account. Every one of them's got a different way of charging. One of them you plug in first, another one you log in first. You know, another one I think ChargePoint or EVgo. You have the app. You jump on the station. You tell the app which station you're at. You're plugged in, and you turn it on from your app. You know, it's just every one of them is different. It makes it very difficult for somebody new or somebody who doesn't really care or doesn't. Now, I'm not going to say they don't get technology, but just they don't want to learn the new technology. They just want to jump in and go. They don't want to get rid of their gas vehicle if it's that difficult. You know, charging at home, not a problem. You know, she can come home, she can plug the truck in. It's no big deal. It's free, or it's not free, but it's cheap. All right. Hope the video was good. Please like, subscribe, and share. Thank you.